Welcome back, you lovely people. In today's video, I want to focus on the one and only, my baby, Chainlink, and then we'll have a quick look at the markets and the massive crash across the crypto market that's happening. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but given some of the messages I've received today, you would think that something very serious is happening. Let's start with Chainlink. Chainlink being my favorite cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin. And I want to explain why that is and what is possible this year for Chainlink. So I'm going to focus on this article, which I love, and I'll link to down below. Best article I've read in crypto. Chainlink, the missing piece to the God protocol. Well, what does that mean? Well, we know that Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency. 2009 was delivered to the world and focusing on peer-to-peer payments, so being a medium of exchange in a decentralized manner. Of course, since then it's become certainly a store of value as well. What do we mean by decentralized? Well, currently all technology systems are centralized, so it's run by companies, entities, and that means we have to trust that company. It also means that they're very inefficient. It's very hard for them to connect to other systems. They spend a lot of money doing that. And often, like it says here, there's a lack of transparency and accountability as those that run these centralized systems become very, very large and powerful. So what is the God protocol? Well, Nick Szabo, he coined the term smart contracts, which we'll come to in a second. And he said, imagine the ideal protocol. It would have the most trustworthy third party imaginable, a deity who is on everybody's side. All parties would send their inputs to God. God would reliably determine the results and return the outputs, God being the ultimate in confessional discretion. No party would learn anything more about the other party's inputs than they could learn from their own inputs and the outputs. So the idea is centered around reducing middlemen. Right now, if you use technology, services, websites, applications, you're very much reliant on the creator and owner of that system, and you trust them. And of course, many times they fail with that trust. So Bitcoin came along, introduced decentralized cryptocurrency blockchain to the world. And then what came next? It was Ethereum. 6 years later, it would introduce the next layer to the God protocol, smart contracts. So what are smart contracts? Essentially, they are legal agreements between two parties, and they're in the codes, and therefore it doesn't require any trust between the other party or a central party. It's all coded that says, I give you this, you give me that, all based on parameters. So I give you this if this happens. And that can be anything, any bit of information, data, IP, etc. And there's some good examples in here of what that actually means. But essentially, the use case for that is really limitless. Most processes that currently take place on the internet today or on applications today are starting to be moved onto the blockchain, mostly onto Ethereum, using these smart contracts. And it means that we take all of the power away from central parties and create a trustless environment where we can be sure that what is happening is in the best interests of everybody because it's already coded in. So if you agree to something, then that will be delivered. But there are, so the way I see this is the internet came along 20, 30 years ago, and most of the world moved onto the internet, whether that is commerce or social or legal, etc., etc. Especially now during lockdowns, literally everything is done on the internet. 30, 40 years ago, there was no internet. Nothing was done on the internet. Now everything is done on the internet. And what is happening next is everything that's being done on the internet is now being moved onto the blockchain, and we're at the very, very beginning of that transition. It's like being in the very early days of the internet, and that's why you have such an opportunity with your investments. It's like being able to invest in an early stage Amazon or Microsoft, etc., etc. But there are some vulnerabilities in the God protocol. So what the God protocol is, where we don't need to trust any central party. We can be sure that whatever we have asked to happen is happening, and that all of our data is safe, and only the data that we choose to provide is being given and used. But there are some ways to go in order to make this a reality. That is connectivity, scalability, and privacy. And then this article talks about completing the God protocol. The single biggest crypto innovation of 2018 will be working oracles. What is an oracle? The ability to bring info from outside a blockchain into the blockchain. Oracles exponentially increase the scope of what crypto can do. So we've had Bitcoin and the Bitcoin blockchain. Ethereum is the next layer. And then to complete the Holy Trinity, we need something that wraps it all up, connects it together, and connects it with the outside world. And that's exactly where Chainlink comes in. So if you see this diagram, around the outside, you have all existing technology uses, internet use cases, business, personal applications, etc., etc. We have our new blockchain world in the middle, Bitcoin, Ethereum. There are, of course, other blockchains as well, such as Polkadot or Cardano. And Chainlink is the new middleman, but of course it's all code. So we don't need to worry about passing it through an organization where it can be taken advantage of. Chainlink is the middleware. It connects the blockchain to the outside world. It can also connect blockchain to blockchain. And this is really important because it solves our three remaining issues to make this new blockchain world, this trustless world, this fair world for everybody a reality. Connectivity. Chainlink uses smart contracts in order to connect blockchains to the outside world and vice versa. Scalability. You can see by this diagram how Chainlink makes the new blockchain world scalable. It connects it to the outside world. It becomes infinitely scalable. And privacy. Privacy is where the tokens come in that you may or may not choose to invest in. The Chainlink tokens secure the network. They are for governance purposes. When a transaction is made, not necessarily a monetary transaction, but it can be a transaction of information, then Chainlink secures that transaction. It uses the tokens in order to confirm that the transaction is valid and approve it. And then, of course, everything is stored and verified and accessible on the blockchain. It provides trustless connectivity and further decentralization. Chainlink enables the next phase of a blockchain world, and I truly believe that it is going to play a huge, huge role in the future. Of course, the internet is the entire world right now, basically, and Chainlink will make sure that we can move all of that onto the blockchain in a way that works for everybody. It can't happen without oracles like Chainlink, and Chainlink is by far the leading oracle provider. It's being used all around the world already with many different companies, many different blockchains, and is only going to increase in adoption as we aim to create this new God protocol. Chainlink is currently around $27, which is just off the all-time high. All-time high was made yesterday. And I'm expecting very, very big things from Chainlink. I certainly feel it's got a long way to go. just last summer, Chainlink was really the story of last summer, and went up by a lot from the beginning of July to the middle of August. It was up about 330%, and we're only just really getting started at the moment, up 150% in this run. And it hasn't gone up as much as some of the other projects, such as Ethereum or Polkadot. So I'm expecting Chainlink to really start moving next. And that's the other reason why it's one of my favorites, or my favorite. I love the technology, I love the use case. It's going to be so important, but also it also performs really, really well during a crypto bull market. And I said earlier on in these videos that I expect Polkadot to be the story of the first half of this cycle, and it certainly has been. Amazing returns on Polkadot, and Chainlink to be the story of the second half, and I'm absolutely still expecting that to happen. Let's quickly talk about Bitcoin, down 3%, around $45,000. Looks really, really nice. We've had a massive move up and now we're consolidating nicely. But I have had messages today saying, what's happening with Bitcoin? Why is everything crashing? And we really need to get really, really focused on what is happening. This market is going to be very volatile over this year. 5% moves in an hour are going to be nothing. They're going to happen every day, up and down. We need to stop getting shaken around by the market. And that's what I'm trying to do with these videos, is to keep everybody focused. I received this message saying, so glad you are doing videos to keep us on track, keep us calm, stay on track, cut through the noise and trust in the cycle. Otherwise I would probably be one of those cashing my chips in after panicking, watching the news, etc. And I said, exactly, that would have been me too, or that was me too, until I studied, put in thousands of hours of work in order to be in a position to hopefully teach you about the cycle and keep everybody calm and focused. I've had messages today again about Chinese New Year and all sorts of weird and wonderful messages. Thank you for sending them through, but stop getting shaken around. We have our target, $296,000. We know the peak is coming in September. Everything else is noise. This was me this morning, waking up to Ethereum, Polkadot and Chainlink making new all-time highs. When they then went down 5%, I just shrugged my shoulders, because I know they're going to be at all-time highs again in the next couple of days. So there's absolutely nothing to be anxious about, and we should really be looking to enjoy this journey, because it is very, very exciting. Of course, we're very excited with the news from Tesla and Elon Musk, and I've done a really nice thread on my Instagram explaining what that means in terms of Bitcoin adoption. It is big news. The technology adoption curve is very useful. If you haven't read the book Crossing the Chasm, I highly recommend it. The news from yesterday or the day before is certainly one of the big steps that we needed to take in order to cross the chasm. We're probably moving from the early adopter stage into the early majority stage. That's why it's really, really important that you have your crypto investment in place as soon as possible, because the people are coming, the mainstream are coming, the institutions are coming. And I really like this quote: Bitcoin didn't need Elon, Elon needed Bitcoin. Couldn't be more true. And there are many, many other people, institutions, perhaps central banks, that need Bitcoin. I'll talk to you tomorrow.